Mr. Speaker, it is a great honour to represent my party in this debate, and I'm simply going to thank all the speakers right across the House who've made some truly magnificent speeches. Mr. Speaker, can I take you first of all north to the Cromarty Firth, beneath the waters of which lies the wreck of HMS Natal, a heavy cruiser, the pride of the Royal Navy during the First World War. On the 30th of December 1915, the captain decided that there would be a film show on board to which were invited mothers and children from the shore. At 25 minutes past 3, on that same day, there was a massive explosion which ripped through the cruiser, which sank very, very rapidly. We don't know if it was a German torpedo. It's probably unlikely. It's more likely that it was what sealed the same fate of the Queen Mary, already mentioned in this debate, an explosion of the magazines, because the cordite was notoriously unstable. A few months later, the Admiralty published the casualties. The list was 390, but no mention was made of the mothers and children who died on HMS Natal. So today, the estimate is between 390 and 321. And to me, in my constituency, not far from my hometown, this incident underlines for me the absolute horror of the First World War. And I hope that as time goes on, we may be able to establish some kind of memorial to those mums and children who died so cruelly and so suddenly. My grandfather's elder brother, Arthur Stone, joined up in 1914, and by 1917, he was in, oddly enough, a PALS battalion, already mentioned, as a major, and for gallantry, he was awarded the DSO, the Distinguished Service Order, and it was a matter of great family pride when he went to collect it from Buckingham Palace with his parents. But I turned to my grandfather's youngest brother, Walter Stone, Wally, a bit of a tearaway. Before the war, he had fathered a child out of wedlock in Canada, something that has not become evident until quite recently, although my father had long suspected that there had been something like that lurking in the background. Wally joined up in 1914 as well into the Royal Fusiliers, and by 1917 he was a captain. On the 30th of November 1917, at Boulogne Wood, near Combray, there was a massive German attack. And my great-uncle was at the front. And as the attack seemed to centre on his position, many of the soldiers were ordered to retreat. He opted to stay at the front and died, as it says, fighting to the last, along with those soldiers who stayed with him. And it is a point of family pride that sometime afterwards it was announced that he had been awarded a posthumous Victoria Cross. That is family pride, and I boast not of it. But what I want to say is this, is that you wonder about the soldiers who stayed with him. They didn't desert him. They all lost their lives. None of them survived. None of their bodies were ever found. It is hoped that the Germans might have buried them. So it is about what happened, that the award my great-uncle received is about all of those who stayed at the front. And in a way, I think all honours and medals given, in fact, applied to a much broader spectrum than just the person who won it. To return to the present in the short time available, on Sunday I shall lay a wreath in my hometown of Tain in the Northern Highlands. There will be a procession, a parade from the parish church, Churchcombe Parish Church, to where the war memorial is, which is in the St Duthas Memorial Church. I dare say that it'll probably be a cold day, and for all I know, the wind could be in the north, coming straight from the Arctic, and it may be seasoned with a dash of sleet. But that is all part of the job of laying a wreath in the Highlands. And as I have done it for many, many years, and each time I go into this church where the memorial is, it is the nature of the Highlands that as you read the names on the plaque, you recognise so many of the families who are still living in the area. And that is what I shall think about. And I think about the past and what my great-uncles did because my father told me, because he was the man who always wore a poppy. And he told me how in the 1930s, when he worked in London, he came down from the Highlands to work here, how at the stroke of 11, the whole of London would fall silent. People would stop in the street for 2 minutes silence. How extraordinarily moving it was. That memory stayed with him, and on next Sunday, I shall, having not known my great uncles, but I knew and loved my father, and he fought in the Second World War in the 14th Army, I shall think of him. And let me just put it this way, Madam Deputy Speaker. He wore a poppy, and so do I, with some pride.
Maggie